Welcome to the Blue Duck Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the Week 4 preview show. Matt, you're going to have to uncover your mic if you want to work. Today we're going to talk about all the games and give you a fantasy preview for every game. But first, what's that smell? It's coming from you, Matt. It smells like fear because you're going up against me in 2 leagues this week. How do you feel about your chances?
I really like them in our CBS league. The other league, I'm not too confident this week. I've got Kirk Cousins as my quarterback against Chicago.
I actually have Kirk Cousins as my quarterback in the other league, but that won't be the guy going up against you this week. I did lose Barkley in that league, so good chance it goes 1-1. But anyways, let's move on to what's important, and that's the news. What do you got for us?
Big news of the day is the man whose jersey sits at the back here, Melvin Gordon, has informed the LA Chargers that he will be returning to work tomorrow.
Ooh, crowd was wild.
Not expected to play this week, of course, but he will be ready to go, I assume, by next week, which is obviously a big hit to Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson.
Not that Justin Jackson has done much. He's been mediocre, but definitely a big hit to both of their values. I assume they'll bring him in slowly, and this will be a committee for a week or two, so that really kills everybody's value and probably a backfield that you'll want to avoid depending on the matchup. But yeah, welcome back, Melvin Gordon, I guess. I have him in several teams, and this is going to benefit me a lot, so I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah, quite early, too. A lot earlier than most people thought he was going to be back. So.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football Week 10 was the expected time so that he'd get the 6 weeks in. But I guess watching Eckler do his thing and the one not so good week in week 3, maybe decide to come back because they take him back right away. But anyways, and Matt, you got anything else?
Slow news days aside from that, so no.
Okay. So let's move on to the preview for week 4. Start off with the Thursday nighter. We have the Eagles at Green Bay. Philadelphia, Alshon looks to be back, but he is facing a tough secondary, so he's not one of the better starts this week. I'd fade him if you have any other options. If you don't, then by all means start Alshon. He's pretty good. No interest in Aguilar outside of a PPR flex league where there's 3 wide receivers. So he'd be a flex in a 3 wide receiver league in PPR. And I don't mind the running backs in this one, but they aren't like top 25 or anything, so they're closer to top 40, so they're flexible if you want.
Yeah, Miles Sanders I've got around running back 30 roughly. I don't know exactly where. And Alshon, high 20s. And Carson Wentz is in the top 10 for me again this week. Green Bay offenses should start rolling here. I'm hoping for a better day from Rodgers and Devontae Adams, maybe hook up at least for a touchdown to get him on the board this year. And
does he not have a touchdown yet?
He does not have a touchdown yet this year. And Aaron Jones, I think that they gave him a limited workload on Sunday just to help rest him for Thursday night. I'm hoping that's the case. I don't want to see Jamal Williams too much. And MVS is going to be okay, hopefully.
Yeah, he should be fine. As you know, I traded away Aaron Jones in one of the leagues that we're in together. And it's a salary cap league, and it's a multi-year contract. So I went from $33 to $21 in salary cap, and I got Josh Jacobs back, which I like. It's a safer move. I think this is going to be somewhat of a committee, even if it's 60-40. I'm getting a player on a worse offense, but I'm getting more volume. As for the Packers, I really like Rodgers this week. I think he should be fine. And as you mentioned, MVS, he's definitely emerged for me as the number 2 wide receiver, and he's a borderline top 30 this week. So I have Alshon just a bit over him. So I'd be starting Alshon just ahead of him. And as I mentioned, I'm way down on Aaron Jones. Jamal Williams looked good on Sunday, and the coach wants to get him involved. And finally, is Jimmy Graham dead? An investigation study airing soon on BlueDuckFantasy.com. Stay tuned for that. But anyways, moving on to the Panthers at Texans. Matt, why don't you kick us off with the Panthers here?
Well, don't have to talk about McCaffrey. DJ Moore and Greg Olsen are okay starts here with Kyle Allen. He did really well last game.
Looked great.
Yeah. So yeah, he's gonna be good. Curtis Samuel, I wouldn't feel comfortable starting him outside of a flex in a 3 wide receiver league, maybe in a limited role there. And like I said, I think Greg Olson's going to be really good, and he has been good this year actually, but he should continue to flourish in that with Allen there.
Yeah, Greg Olson's been surprisingly good this year compared to how poorly he's been the last 2 years. I don't want to speculate that he's maybe, But anyways, I actually like Curtis Samuel ahead of DJ Moore this week. I thought they had better connection with Kyle Allen last week. DJ Moore only had the one catch. Did he finish with any more than that, or was just the one big catch on 2 targets? I believe. At least it was at some point. I wouldn't start Kyle Allen this week in a 1-quarterback league. In a 2-quarterback league, it really just depends on who you have, and if you're stuck with them, then you are. Moving on to the Texans, this running back situation is turning into a mess. Now, they haven't had great running back production for the last couple of years, so they've been winning without it. They talked about C.J. Anderson, I guess, was working out for the team today. I don't know if you saw that. But whoever's in the backfield is not anybody I'm interested in. Hyde had a good week. They don't trust Duke Johnson at all anymore. He had like 3 touches last game. The one player that I do want to talk about is Kiki. Where are you at, man? You were one of our sleepers, and you have done nothing. You got to show up this week. Will Fuller, you got to step up too, or else Matt's going to be talking about Kenny Stills every week. I can't take that. So you guys both got to step up.
Yeah, Kenny Stills was actually who I was going to bring up first.
You heard that, Will Fuller? Come on, man.
Yeah, he's ahead of Will Fuller for me this week in my rankings.
I can't even disagree with that.
Yeah. Kiki, I don't.
He's not ranked. He hasn't done anything.
No. And to be fair, he was our sleeper before they got Kenny Stills. So
definitely a huge impact on my decision.
No, neither running backs are starters for me, and Hopkins and Watson are easily starters.
Absolutely. Your pick to win this game?
Houston.
Same. Both had Green Bay for the Thursday nighter.
Yeah, we didn't even. Yeah, Packers for Thursday.
Anyways, let's move on to Cleveland at Baltimore, and got good news for everyone. I will not be calling the plays for the Browns this week from home while barely paying attention to what down it is and anything else. But Kitchens will be, which might actually be worse. This team is in trouble. They looked sluggish, poor on Sunday night. And I really need to see it before I can start putting these guys back up to where they were pre-draft. I think I have Jarvis Landry at about 40 this week, and Beckham is probably outside the top 10. Taking a look here at my ranking for him in standard, I have him at 13. Yeah, so this offense needs to click, and I feel like it's going to click at some point. It just hasn't yet, and it might be just getting somebody else to call the plays. Matt, what are your thoughts on the 1 and 2 Browns?
I actually have Landry down in my rankings as well this week, but it's closer to 30, not 40. OBJ is still top 10. I can't remember exactly where, but he's like 7, 8, 6, something like that. Chubb I still think is definitely startable. Baker, I mean, you probably don't have another option if you had him.
A lot of people have been dropping Baker. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he was actually dropped in one of my leagues. I thought that was a little
we're
reactionary.
In that league together.
Yeah, it's too early to drop him. He's going to be good eventually.
I actually saw a post today where somebody was saying to drop him, and I couldn't disagree more. Like, he's going to be solid. He's better than – who are you dropping him for? Daniel Jones? You can't do that. You have to keep Baker over Daniel Jones.
The Ravens, Lamar Jackson's going to be good. Mark Ingram's going to be good. Marquise Brown is probably going to be good.
He's very risky every week.
Yeah, he's somebody you probably starting in like a flex situation. You're probably not in the top if it's a 2 wide receiver league anyway. Again, no other wide receivers there, and Mark Andrews will probably have a bit of a bounce back. He was a little bit banged up going into last week.
Looks like he's still banged up, mispractice today. Hollywood I actually have in the top 25 this week, but he is kind of a boomer bust play. Like, you're playing him hoping for a big week. And for all you Ingram owners out there, if you have not yet, you need to go out and get Gus Edwards. He should be free on the ad drop. It's not going to cost you anything. He's getting older. He looks a little slower. He was banged up already in one game. I don't see him lasting for much longer. Make sure you get Gus Edwards, as he'll be as good as he was last year, which was pretty good for that time. Your pick to win this game, Matt?
I kind of want to go Cleveland, but I'm going to go Ravens.
I don't want to go Cleveland at all, and I'm going to go Ravens as well. Moving on, Kansas City at Detroit. For the Chiefs, I'm going to go with start everyone who plays. Matt?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not really a whole lot more to say about Kansas City. You know, they're all going to be good. Well, within reason.
Yeah, just keep an eye on the running back situation. Damon Williams didn't practice today, so if he's out, then Darrell Williams gets into your flex spot. LaShawn McCoy should be in your flex, your high flex. And all three wide receivers are startable/flexible.
Yeah, don't start Darwin Thompson, though.
Nope.
No, not with Andy Reid there. He doesn't seem to
He
like
needs to
doing
show
well.
it first.
For Detroit, I think because Kansas City is going to be putting up points, they're going to be forced to be passing. So Stafford, I think, is an okay play this week, which means Kenny Galladay is going to be a good play this week, I think, as well. Hopefully that leads to T.J. Hawkinson also being a good play. Not holding my breath with Hawk, but I think he might end up being okay here. And carry on. I actually moved up again this week, even though we talked about maybe even moving him down. But I think he's good enough as a receiving back that he's not going to really come off the field. Yeah, I've got him as number 12 in PPR this week.
I'm just going to check to see how high I have Kerryon Johnson this week. I have him 10th in standard, so I'm assuming I have him 10th in PPR as well. So, yeah, I'm high on him as well. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I'm looking to see him get a lot of targets. We haven't seen that big target game for him. It's been, a couple targets here and there. As you mentioned, good, decent matchup for Stafford, a quarterback you might be seeing a little bit of in the CBS league. Someone who is actually a surprise top 30 ranking for me at wide receiver is Marvin Jones Jr. in this one. So he's somebody that is a high flex, as you would say, Matt, for this week's matchup. And I even have Danny Amendola, if he's healthy, as a top 50 wide receiver this week. This is going to be a lot of passing. This is something that Stafford's done a lot in his career. They've moved away from it in the past couple of years. But he can throw it, and hopefully by the end of the game, his arm is sore as it used to be. Who's your pick to win this one? You going to go with Detroit? That's your upset of the week?
No,
Matt's upset of the week, the Detroit Lions.
I'm picking Kansas City, everyone.
Fine. All right, let's move on to the Los Angeles Chargers, who will be getting Melvin Gordon back not this week, but next week. So, Matt, why don't you tell us about what we should expect from the Chargers this week?
Well, they're playing Miami, so
they're going to get shut out? Is that what you're saying?
We are starting everybody. Rivers, Eckler, Allen, Mike Williams, maybe Hunter Henry if you want. Not quite, but you get what I'm going there. You're starting everybody that's reasonable against the Dolphins. I don't really expect like a Justin Jackson to go through like what Tony Pollard did last week. I don't know if he'll get that out of hand, but Eckler, Rivers, Williams, and Allen are all starts for me.
I'm going to disagree with you. I have Justin Jackson equals Tony Pollard this week. I'm on board for that. This is their last week of playing without Melvin Gordon. They're going to want to put on a show. They're going to be hungry. Justin Jackson is probably going to get a season high in touches because this matchup will get out of hand. He's a decent runner. He's going to do a lot with them. And I'm a big fan of Justin Jackson this week. And I don't know what my ranking is on him. Let me just check that.
I just don't know if they're going to get like ahead like the Cowboys did with them. That's all.
I have him at 30. So I'm a believer. He's a high flex. And as for the Miami Dolphins, it's time to start your NFL mock drafts if you're a Miami fan. Matt?
Yeah. You can try maybe starting Preston Williams and
there's not enough people
time
on bye for you to be starting him yet. That's my opinion. Later on in the season, maybe, but we have two weaker teams at wide receiver that are on bye.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there isn't a Jets wide receiver you were playing, and outside of Debo, you probably weren't even flexing anybody else off the 49ers. So in a different week, maybe, but this week you should be okay without it.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 48 for me, so you'd have to be pretty limited to actually put him in the lineup.
All right, you didn't pick the Dolphins as your upset. You didn't pick the Lions as your upset. Are you going to go with the Dolphins as your upset?
No.
Okay, so both of us are going with the Chargers. Let's move on to the New England Patriots. Matt, is it time to sit Sony Michel?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. It was a bad game last week, but this is going to be New England. He's going to come back and probably have like 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's just what they do. Bills aren't a great matchup for him, but they're probably going to be focused more on stopping Brady in the passing game. You got to keep Michelle rolling. And Brady's a start. Edelman, Josh Gordon. I wouldn't start Philip Dorsett, but that's it for the Patriots.
What about James White?
In PPR, sure. I wouldn't start him in standard at this point.
I have him over Sonny Michel in PPR, and I have him just behind Sonny Michel in standard. I think with the week off, they're going to try and give him a lot more touches. I think this is a tougher matchup against the Bills, so I think they're going to have to use him a lot. I agree, Sonny Michel still start with for me. I'm good with both the wide receivers, but I am way higher on Edelman. I don't know why, just kind of a gut feeling about this being an Edelman week. So he's somebody that I like, and yeah, no Dorsett unless Edelman somehow misses the game. As for the Bills, Gore is a start if Singletary is out, and John Brown should be okay in this one in a 3 wide receiver league as a flex.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. And a 3 wide receiver with a flex.
Yeah, I've lowered him a bit this week.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Josh Allen could be okay actually this week too, but yeah, you're not starting any really of the Bills receivers outside of John Brown. I've been considering, and I'm not even that high on Frank Gore this week. I think he's around running back 30 for me, so it's about flex.
High flex.
Yeah, he's a high flex.
Especially in a standard league, he has more value there than a PPR because I don't remember the last time he got a pass. I'm sure he has, but it's just not something he does a lot of.
Yeah, actually I have James White one ahead of him at 29, so they're both high flexes.
Okay, couple of high flexes in this game. Who's your pick to win it?
New England.
So we're all on the same page so far. Okay, moving on to the Oakland Raiders at Indianapolis. For the Raiders, pretty simple every week. They got their big 3. Tight end, Waller. Wide receiver, Ty Williams. Running back, Josh Jacobs. They're all startable. Matt?
Yeah. Williams, I actually moved down a little bit this week, but he's still mid-20s, 27.
So he's a high flex.
He's
in a 2 wide receiver league, and he's a star in a 3 wide receiver league.
Yeah, he's easily started in the 3 wide receiver league. And Waller's, he's been good, so we're going to keep going with him, and Jacobs is a no-brainer there. For Indianapolis, monitor the T.Y. Hilton situation. He didn't practice today. He looked... I would be really surprised if he played.
Agreed.
So I'm not putting in any Colts wide receivers there. Might help Ebron. We talked about this a little bit on Sunday.
We did.
And Marlon Mack is startable, but Jacoby Brissett is not.
Yeah, I don't think T.Y. plays in this one. I'm not looking at any of these wide receivers. You got to show me something. Like, these wide receivers haven't done anything. So before I put Paris Campbell in a lineup or Deion Kane or Zach Pascal, I need to see who's going to be the guy that Jacoby Brissett has the better chemistry with. So avoid all the wide receivers. I'd take Ebron, and if even desperate at quarterback, if you've lost like Henry or Njoku, Jack Doyle might be okay in this one. With T.Y. out, he might get more more targets. As for Marlon Mack, well, will the real Marlon Mack please stand up? That's a Eminem reference, Matt. I know you're not allowed to listen to rap music, so just wanted to clarify that for you. Week 1, 7 yards per carry. Week 2, 2.6. Week 3, 4.6. I have no idea how good this guy is. I don't think the Tennessee defense was that good, so he should be started, but I don't know how good of a start he is. He needs to show more.
Yeah,
You're picking this one?
I am going to go with the Raiders this one.
Me too.
Oh. Who's the favorite in this game anyway?
I would assume Indianapolis is at home, but it's close. So I'm not going to give you an upset on that one, especially since I have the same one. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans, and I have a question for you. Can you name the top 6 players in reception yards for the Titans this year? A hint, you should know number 6 because you told me who was number 6.
Yeah, number 6 is definitely Corey Davis. I know that one.
Corey Davis, number 6.
That's terrible.
With 82 yards.
I'm going to say Walker's up there.
Number 1, 158.
Adam Humphries had a really good game, so I'm going to say he's in there too.
Number 3 at 97.
Okay.
I think he got 86 of those last week.
Yeah, A.J. Brown got a 100-yard game in week 1. So
and he's at 129 now through 3 weeks.
That's number 2.
Number 2.
That's 1, 2, and 3. Derrick Henry.
He's number 5 at 89 yards.
Okay. I don't think Deion Lewis has enough.
Just number 4 you're missing.
It's pretty bad. I can't even think of another wide receiver on that team. No, Tavon Taylor's missing.
He's in Cleveland now, actually.
Yeah, that's not what I meant.
You are correct. Deion Lewis has like 16 or 28 yards. It's not a lot.
Not Deion.
It is a wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
whose name starts with a T. His last name is not Dull.
He's not dull. Oh, Sharp.
Tajay Sharp,
Sharp.
number 4 at 94 yards.
Great. That's bad.
What do you make of this Corey Davis situation?
He's getting the best corner on them, I guess. Like Jalen Ramsey was with him. Who did they play last week?
They played the
Was it the Jags?
Jacksonville.
Okay, the week before then, when their star corner was shadowing. Oh, Denzel Ward was shadowing.
That was week 1. Week 2 was the Colts.
Well, I don't know. I don't have an excuse for him that week, but I don't know. He's by far their best receiver.
Yep.
It's
Is this the week he breaks out? I just don't think there's enough volume. Like, that's the problem with this offense is these guys are at, like, the tight end's at 158 yards through 3 weeks. That's just over 50 yards per week. That's just not very good. The quarterback just isn't fantasy relevant, and it hurts everyone on this team. If he was on a different team, we'd be talking about him as a start every week on a good offense. So Derrick Henry's a start for me. So is Walker, and that's about it. Matt, thoughts on the Titans?
Yeah, I even have Corey Davis outside my top 30 this week. It's not good for him. But yeah, Henry, Walker, that's it for Tennessee. As far as I'm concerned, Falcons, on the other hand, you guys start the usual suspects there.
I'm going to stop you right there. Where do you have Corey Davis ranked?
31.
50 over here.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really
got to
off
show
that.
me. No faith.
Yeah.
Who's starting Corey Davis? In what league are you starting Corey Davis?
3 wide receiver flex.
Even at 3 wide receiver flex, you should have gotten some better guys. You could have DJ Chark. Are you starting him over DJ Chark this week? It's a bad matchup at Tennessee, and I still have DJ Chark a couple of spots ahead of him.
It's a bad matchup at Denver, you mean?
At Denver, yes, sorry.
Yeah, no, I have him ahead of DJ Shark still.
Okay.
But moving on to Atlanta, you got to start your usual suspects there. So that's Ridley, Jones, Freeman, Ryan, Hooper. Not
Hooper's
much
in
more to
there.
say about that.
So it's week 4, and basically my hot take on Julio's already done. The running game sucks, which I thought would be much improved this year, but I think it's the blocking scheme that doesn't work. The D isn't much better, and they just lost Keanu Neal for the season again. So they're going to be throwing. Matt Ryan's going to get bumped up rest of the season for me, as his arm is going to be sore like it was last year. Calvin Ridley's look good, and Hooper's doing okay, but Julio's it's going to be great. Barring injury, I'll be wrong on that one. You're picking this game?
I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Nice. I will also go with the Atlanta Falcons. Move on to Washington at New York. Matt?
Washington. Maybe I can start Adrian Peterson against a very weak Giants defense that Ronald Jones did really well against last week. I'm just looking here for AP here. There he is. 28 standard. So he's a 2 running back flex for sure. Nobody else on Washington that I'm really interested in playing. Not even McLaren. I think he's in the 40s for me.
I have Adrian Peterson at 27, and I have Chris Thompson at 30. I think this game is going to be a shootout. These defenses are terrible, and I have a sneaky pick that's going to come up in a second here. I definitely like Scary Terry this week. It's Terry McLaurin. I even like Vernon Davis in this one. If you're hurting at tight end and you don't have somebody better, throw him in. And Paul Richardson's a pass, but if you're really strapped for cash in a DFS league, you might want to throw him in there just because his defense is bad.
Who calls him Scary Terry?
That's apparently what everybody's calling him.
Jeez.
Yeah. Number 2 wide receivers have burnt the Giants. First game against Philly, D-Jax went off.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, Gallup and forgotten receiver Devin Smith went off.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, Taylor Gabriel had 3 scores.
It's true.
Who's the number 2 receiver on the Giants?
It's not.
2 hours later.
Yeah, it's not Latimer. His name's on the tip of my tongue. It's like Fowler or something like that.
Well, I'm going to give you a different name. Darius Slayton.
Okay.
The deep threat for the Giants. D-Jax was a deep threat. Taylor Gabriel is technically a deep threat, although he wasn't a deep threat on 3rd week. But Smith was. He caught that long pass.
Mm-hmm.
Darius Slayton. Remember the name. He's your DFS play this week. Moving on. Where do you rank Gallman in this one?
Wayne Gallman. He is going to be...
Put you on the spot here.
Yeah, you're going to put me on the spot with Gallman. gonna say he would go in around 30. He'd be hanging in with Frank Gore and
Adrian Peterson
and James White area.
Yeah, that's where I have him too. I have him behind Adrian Peterson because I like this matchup. The Giants D isn't very good. Any other thoughts on the Giants?
Shepard looked really good last week. I expect more of that. And Ingram, easy start. Daniel Jones, I'm not starting in a 1 quarterback, but in a 2, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, like I said, this game should be a shootout. You shouldn't be starting Daniel Jones in a 1 quarterback league, but if you want to play him in a daily fantasy sports, that's not a bad play, but I think he'll be very popular after how well he did last week. So maybe think about the Washington quarterback if it's Case Keenum. I know he's dealing with an injury. If it is Dwayne Haskins, forget everything I said about starting the wide receivers here because I don't think he's ready to play. You're picking this game, Washington or New York?
I will go with Giants.
Okay. I will also go with the Giants. Moving on to the afternoon games, we have Seattle at Arizona, and Will Dissly, the start of the week against the worst team against tight ends. They've been burnt every week this year. To me, this is a make or break week for Chris Carson. I expect Penny to get a lot more touches this week if he's healthy, and if Carson fumbles, I think that'll be it. It'll be Penny time, but Carson is the better back. So if Penny's not doing much, they'll probably give it right back to Carson. But I expect this to be closer to a split to start the game. And if Carson doesn't fumble, he'll end up getting the carries later in the game because this should be a probably pretty close game against Arizona. Matt, your thought on the Seattle Seahawks this week at Arizona?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk kind of what you said there about Rashad Penny if he's healthy.
I saw your notes. I just stole everything you had.
Oh, shoot. Okay, I'll hide them better next week. Anyhow, I have Carson as a number 10 back at the start of the game here. I think if he's going to keep the job, he's going to be good. But that is a little bit of a concerning spot for him. But just because of some bad matchups for some of the other tops backs, I just moved him a little bit down, or moved him a little bit up, I should have said. Anyhow, Tyler Lockett, he's okay. Not really a big believer, but he's fine as your third wide receiver or something like that.
Or a high flex.
Or a high flex if you need, yeah. And Russ, where are you? Number 8 this week for me in quarterbacks. I think that's going to be a decent matchup for him. Arizona's defense is number 30 against the quarterbacks this year, so leads to a good thing for Russ. As for Arizona, it's kind of same thing every week. Kyler's a boomer bust. David Johnson's coming down a little bit, but he is still hanging around the top 10 for me. He's actually, now that I look here, at number 4, so he is definitely hanging around the top 10 for me. I know you were kind of down on him a little bit last week. I'm not sure where you have him this week, but you can get to that. And Kirk and Fitz are the only startable wide receivers there. No tight ends.
It's like a really bad week for running backs for some reason. I have David Johnson 11. I think 4 is a little bit crazy, but at the same time, I have Mark Ingram in the top 10, which is not something I would normally have. But it just seems like it's a bad week matchup-wise for a lot of running backs that are usually up there. So he does get a little bit of a bump. Last week was Kyler Murray's first game with over 15 rushing yards. He actually had 69. So he needs to keep this up, and I personally think he will. So to me, right now, he's an interesting buy low candidate. Now, he's not somebody you're going to target to be like, I want Kyler Murray, but he's somebody like if you want somebody else on the team and they have Kyler Murray, you get them to package that player in so that you can get that quarterback who's going to be better than he has been rest of season. Actually, you could probably trade Daniel Jones straight up for him at this point, depending on your league, but I'm sure somebody might want to take that. Kirk and Fitz are good every week, but they're never great. There are some high flexes, some medium flexes, depends on the week. David Johnson, like I said, he's up there, but he is a lot closer to last year than when he was 2 years ago. Your pick to win this game?
I'm going to take the Cardinals at home.
Okay, I'm going to take the Seahawks on the road.
Is that our first one we differ on?
Yes, this is the first one, and there's only like 3 games left for.
Okay, that's why I went with Arizona.
Okay, moving on to Tampa Bay against the Rams. Matt, your thoughts on the Bucs this week?
I like them to put up some points, probably out of necessity. They're going to have to. And Mike Williams had a bit of a breakout game there last week.
Who?
Mike Evans.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think that's the second podcast in a row that you've done that.
I have, yep.
You love Mike Williams.
Yep, and we will talk about him shortly.
We sure will.
Anyway, Mike Evans, breakout game. Don't expect that every week. Obviously, he's not going to get 3 touchdowns and like 200 yards or whatever it was. Chris Godwin, good play. OJ Howard's a decent play there. He finally got some targets, so that's a little bit of an upside there. I would stay away from the running backs. You just don't know which one's going to be doing more. If you have to, I guess it's Barber's week this week because he was the lesser used last week.
Yeah, I'm good with the 3 pass catchers and even Jameis this week. But just so you know, I will be starting Rivers over Jameis in the one league where we play each other. And if you're wondering if you should start Barber or Jones, take a coin. Heads is Barber, tails is Jones. Flip it. And if it lands on your guy, put him in the flex. If not, put him on the bench. That's just how you decide. As for the Rams, Malcolm Brown is a player that you should keep holding on your bench. His time's going to come. It's probably not going to be this week, but Gurley's knee is going to act up at some point. It's a long-term stash. Once he gets into that role, he's going to have a lot of value. So keep holding on to Malcolm Brown. The obvious starters in this game, Goff, 3 wide receivers, and Todd Gurley. Matt, I want to know if you're worried about Robert Woods.
It's kind of hard not to be, and I was actually really looking at him in my rankings this week. That was one of the guys I was really struggling with where to put him, and I actually did move him down to. I thought I had him lower here, but he's number 15, so my bad. But I was actually having him around number 10 earlier in the year, but.
Sorry, where do you have him this week?
15.
For Robert Woods, 15.
Yeah, I still have him above Cup.
I definitely do not. I have him at 34.
Wow, that's a big movement for Robert Woods.
And I'm actually not worried about him. I just think that it's going to be some weeks where he's good and some weeks where he's bad. It's just the way this offense works.
That's the thing with the Rams wide receivers. You don't know.
Yeah, they're either an okay flex or a fantastic top 5 play. You're just not going to know week to week. They're going to be good enough. So it's not somebody that I'm worried about. It's not somebody that I'm looking to get rid of. He's going to have his weeks. The fact that he hasn't had him yet is actually more encouraging that he's going to have him because Kupp's not going to keep up the pace that he's been going at.
No, and just the other thing that you talked about with Malcolm Brown, that's somebody that you grabbed knowing that you're going to be using him later on in the year versus right now. They're going to bench Gurley towards the end of the year when they've got their division locked up.
It's already 3-0, about to be 4-0 because I picked the Rams in this one.
As do I.
All right, let's move on to Jacksonville at the Broncos. And I'm going to say sit DJ Chark and the other pass catchers in this one. Dede might actually be your best play, but I'd still avoid them all. And unfortunately, you still have to start Leonard Fournette. And I would sit Gardner Minshew even in 2 quarterback leagues.
Yeah, Fournette, you really don't have a better option, I'm sure. Even though I've moved him down all the way from I think I had 8 or 9 last week. I'm down to 16 on him this week. And Lindsey, I think you have to probably start. If you can, maybe a flex, but likely you don't have a better play. Other than that, there's not very many of these players I'm starting in this game at all. Is there anybody on Denver you want to start?
Depends. If Ramsey doesn't play, then to me Sutton is a start. And if Ramsey does play, then Emmanuel Sanders is a sit. I know those are 2 different names, but I assume that if Ramsey plays, he'll cover Sanders, but he'll probably also see some Sutton. If he doesn't play, then I really like Sutton to have a big game, as I think he's their number 1. The running backs look good last week, but this is kind of a Tampa Bay situation where you don't know who's going to be good week to week. They are both better than the Tampa Bay backs. These are top 30 guys versus the top 40 guys. And here's an interesting one for you. Noah Fant, I like as a tight end if you're in a pinch. So far, he's on pace for a 45-plus catch season with 500-plus yards and 0 touchdowns. So he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. He should probably finish with about 4 or 5 touchdowns with that line as a tight end. So that means they're coming. So some reverse regression there. He should be getting some touchdowns soon.
Did you happen to see the latest Jalen Ramsey news? Speaking of Jalen Ramsey today?
No, I'm concentrating on the podcast and on my phone out like you do, Matt. What's the news?
That he is away from the team, which isn't news, but he's away due to the birth of a child now. So, and he says that he is not sure when he's going to be back. So he may be back this week. He may not. Just keep that in mind. Watch Jalen Ramsey.
Keep an eye on the situation. Matt, who's your pick between the Jaguars and the Broncos?
I'm going to go. This is actually a tough game. I'm going to go Broncos.
I'm also going Broncos, and it was not a tough game.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, Minnesota at Chicago. This should be the lowest scoring game of the week. Thinking 9-6. You can't sit Diggs, even if it's going to be 9-6, but you sure can sit Cousins. Cook and Thielen are definitely starts. It's a tough deal they're going up against, so temper expectations. And as we mentioned earlier, Jimmy Graham might be dead. But if he's dead, what is Kyle Rudolph? At least Jimmy caught a touchdown on opening night. Matt, your thoughts on Kyle Rudolph, who has just over 20 receiving yards in 3 games?
Yeah, Irv Smith came out a little bit last week too, so that really doesn't bode well for Rudolph. But in terms of this game, yeah, I guess you have to play Cook, obviously. Diggs and Thielen, you have to play. Cousins, unfortunately, I'm starting.
Thank you for that free win.
Yeah, I just couldn't roster 3 quarterbacks. I have Cam on the bench too.
Could drop him for...
Yeah, he's at $1. I'm not going to drop him for that.
Right, auction, multi-year.
Yeah. But anyhow, David Montgomery I think is an okay play in this game as well. I have him actually as a starter in 2 running back leagues, which majority of leagues have that function, just not one of ours. But yeah, other than that, I'm kind of avoiding this game if I can.
Yeah, Montgomery's about the safest thing you can see on Chicago. He's going to get most of the touches. I'm not overly worried about his usage. I'm actually more worried about Tariq Cohen's usage. He has barely been used. But I think he'll be used in this game a lot with the tough defense. They'll probably not be throwing it too much downfield. They'll probably be looking for Cohen. This could be one of Cohen's big games. I have both of them around the top 25, but just barely. So they're just in that high flex spot, as you like to call it. Allen Robinson has a really bad matchup, and he's outside the top 35 for me. So you'd have to be in a 3 wide receiver set to start him. I'm really going matchups this week. And do we need to investigate Trey Burton, or was his performance on Monday night of catching 4 passes for 20 yards enough for you, Matt?
That's another one. I just don't really understand that usage. He's pretty decent, but 4 catches in a PPR is okay for a tight end, I guess. Sure. Actually, Allen Robinson, I should have mentioned. I have him as a start this week.
Okay. Your pick to win this game?
I am going to go with the Bears at home.
I will also take the Bears at home. Cowboys at Saints. So this cakewalk of a schedule that the Cowboys have had is going to end after this week. So make sure you go out and sell. That means Dak. You need to sell Dak after this week or this week. You're going to get great value for him. He's being amazing right now, but he's not going to keep that up. They play Green Bay next week, and he is probably going to be terrible. Witten in a pinch should be pretty good, as he's been pretty good this year. Other than that, you start the regular guys, Cooper, Zeke, not Tony Pollard.
Yeah, pretty much it. You're not saying to sell Zeke high,
no,
are you?
just Dak.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add to Dallas. I would get rid of Dak if I had him too, and there's almost every league I'm in, the Dak owner is trying to get rid of him. So it makes sense.
Yep.
Anyway, for the Saints, Kamara looked great last week. Thomas was okay. I think that rapport with Teddy Bridgewater will get better, so he'll be a little bit more focal point on that offense. And the rest of the wide receivers don't really fit what Bridgewater is doing. Like Ginn is a burner, doesn't really fit with Bridge, and even Traquan Smith. Yeah, that's about it for New Orleans. I would start Thomas and Kamara. I can't really imagine myself starting anybody else.
Yep, I agree with that. Who are you picking to win this game?
Gonna go with Dallas.
I'm also going with Dallas. Last game, Monday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals at the Steelers. I like this matchup. I think this could be a high-scoring game. I like the wide receivers, so I'm starting Ross. I am starting Tyler Boyd, and I'm starting your best friend, Joe Mixon, and maybe even Andy Dalton. Not in a 1-quarterback league, but in a DFS play or in a 2-quarterback league, I'm fine with him. Like I said, I have both wide receivers in the top 25 this week.
So we actually get to talk about Joe Mixon this week in a positive way.
Yes, for the first time.
Yeah, Joe Mixon should have a really good day. This is a really good matchup for him. He started to get it going a little bit last week. I think that's going to be kind of the breakout game, if you will, for him this year. The other Bengals wide receivers, pretty easy starts there with, Boyd, sorry. I don't have Ross as a starter this week, but can't see myself starting Dalton or Tyler Eifert. For the Steelers, Mason Rudolph, not really a starter outside the 2 quarterback leagues. Juju and Connor, you're starting. Watch the tight end situation. If Vance McDonald's healthy and playing, then sure, start him. But they did just trade for Nick Vannett out of Seattle.
They did get Nick Vannett, who is kind of a cheap DFS play if Vance can't go, but not somebody you want to be starting in any type of yearly format. And James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster are trades or starts every week. Who is your pick to win this game?
I am going to take the Steelers at home.
I'll take the Bengals on the road. I think that's 2 different.
Yep.
All right. After I crushed you last week. All right, that's going to do it for the Week 4 preview. Matt, you have anything to add to that?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully both.
That's it.